Pretty excited today. I got a good video planned. We're going to work on this Stihl 038 Magnum for my buddy Fab Willie. I believe this actually is his brother's saw. It didn't run. We pulled it down on a previous video. I'll put all this in a playlist, and that way you guys can watch it from beginning to end. I like doing that so you can see the projects as they progress. And I'm pretty excited to do this. To the newcomers, welcome. I'm the Tin Man, and this is the Saw Lab, and this is what we do here. We work on vintage power saws, 2 strokes. That's what I'm into on this channel. So welcome if you're new. And to the old timers that have been around, you guys know who you are. Thanks for coming back. Love having you guys in the shop. Okay, so what we're doing here today, and I'm just going to get this prepped. It's funny, I have a love for these power saws, the 038 Magnum Stihl. This was my first big professional power saw, what I call a big saw. It's not a big saw, but it is when you've been cutting with 50cc saws. I used to use Stihl MS260s and 026s. That's what I cut firewood with. Before that, I had a Stihl 025. So the Tin Man used to be a Stihl man through and through. I ran Stihl for years. I still run Stihls, as you guys know. I like all power saws, but these ones, we'll just throw this over here for now. These ones are particularly near and dear to my heart. I really like these. These are a direct match for the Husqvarna 272, okay? And just making sure I don't get any schmutz in here. As you guys know, old power saws, when you take them apart, they tend to get dirty. So do your best to keep the schmutz out of the bottom end. I really like these. I find that these run better than the 272. They got more pull, definitely. I've talked to other guys about it, and they said the same thing. These, they're not the zippiest saw, meaning they're not a high revving, high chain speed saw, but they cut really well. I remember my buddy had a 3-foot plus poplar come down in his yard. Now, poplar's not the hardest cutting wood, but it was an old poplar that come down in his yard. It was 3 to 4 feet, and nobody around could cut it. So I went over there with my 038 Magnum and a 25-inch bar, Stihl 24, they call it 25, and handily bucked that thing up in an afternoon. And I thought, wow, these bigger power saws are where it's at. So, but one thing I've always noted about these, friends, is they run better than a 272. They just do. They got more power. And not that there's anything wrong with a 272. I own one. I run it. It's a good saw. It is ported though. But so in today's video, let's prep this thing. Let's put a timing wheel on it. I want to time the stock OEM cylinder with a base gasket. Okay, I'm not gonna lower the cylinder by taking the base gasket out, because that'll skew the numbers, right? That'll give us more intake timing because the intake opens on the upstroke, and less exhaust timing. Okay, let's time this with a stock cylinder and see where these line up. Do they have the same timing as a 272? I'll look in my book. I've timed a few 272 cylinders over the years. Let's compare. And then, friends, we have a Hyway top end kit from Wolf Creek. Now, we're going to use a Hyway piston in this saw. This piston is roached, scored all up on the exhaust side, not on the intake side. I have a feeling that this saw was run lean, but it may need crank seals. We do have them. And if needs be, we'll split this saw and rebuild it completely. The bottom end on this saw, friends, looks like brand new. So I'm not thinking this thing was run much at all. And I'm really not thinking that it had an air leak. So, but anyhow, friends, let's time a stock cylinder and a Hyway 038 Magnum cylinder. Friends, so here's your flywheel. Here's your flywheel nut. That's a 13 millimeter. I do not put these on with an impact gun, but I will take them off. These are regular thread, so no worries there. Just give it a little, okay? Now, I'm going to leave that nut partially on there, if I can. Only for one reason, and you guys saw that on the dolly. the Sax Dolmar we've been working on. If you put too much pressure on this, you can actually break the end of the crankshaft stub. Now I'm going to show you guys this. This is a Stihl flywheel puller, okay? It screws into the threads, okay, right here, inside the flywheel. Okay, screw it into there tight, and then the center, here, I'll pull this out so you guys can see. Okay, there's a little nub on there, and that goes into the center of the crankshaft, okay? So I'm just going to spin this down. Okay, I'll get my impact, I'll get a socket for that, and let's give it a little brap brap, and it should come right off. Okay, we'll give it a little shot. There you go. Okay, that's how you take a Stihl flywheel off. Again, we didn't hurt or damage nothing. There's other ways to do it. You can buy these online, they're like 15, 20 bucks, and they work great. So often with these, you can't get a puller behind. There's not enough room in between the case. Okay, I'm just gonna bowl this off, and let's get the timing wheel mounted. Okay, here's our handy dandy timing wheel. Friends, you can get a timing wheel online. Most good auto parts stores have them. I get asked that all the time. Yeah, you can find them. Just Google timing wheel and you'll find one. Okay, here's my drill chuck. Now I'm gonna put this at bottom dead center. Helps if you put it on there the right way, friends. Okay, this just goes right on the end of the crankshaft, onto the threads. You can put some tape over there or something if you're worried about damaging the threads. It's never happened to me, but I understand if you have something super weirdo and you can't get parts for it, maybe you want to protect the threads. And I usually just grab it like this, hand tight. Okay, just make sure it's tight. Okay, there you go. Bottom dead center. I only do that because then I have a reference, okay? I push it all the way down. There's bottom dead center. Grab our timing wheel with various washers just to make it sit proper. Now this is actually not the best timing wheel for the job, friends. This one's a little bit big. I'm just going to move you guys back. See, it kind of hangs off the bottom. But this is what I've used. I like this one. Now, I bought this locally, so and they don't have any more, so it wouldn't... You guys always ask me where I got this from. This one Chippy gave to me, and the other one that I had was the same. So, okay. So, anyways, friends, I'm going to turn this around. Okay, I'm going to put it back at bottom dead center. I'm just going to have it so 180 is facing up so you guys can see there. Okay, 180 is close enough to up. I'm just going to grab this wrench right here. Okay, there you go. There's your mounted timing wheel. Now I'm going to put the piston at top dead center, which is here. Now I want it here because there is... I'll show you guys. There is a corresponding bolt here that is close to top dead center, so that's where I can put my piece of wire. Let's mount the piece of wire. I got to put the piston in, so we'll do that right now. Okay, here's your wrist pin bearing right here. Here's that nice piston we got from Wolf Creek Saw Shop. It's a Hyway piston, no flat top. Okay, now I'm going to try and do this on film so you guys can see. This wrist pin is very, very well fitted in there. It's very tight. Hold on a second here. Okay, just put a little oil on the wrist pin. There we go. Doesn't have to go in all the way, just enough to hold it. Okay. Now, let's put the OEM cylinder back on. I've wiped it out. I'll wipe it out again just to make sure nothing gets on that new piston. Okay. I'm going to put 2 bolts on it. This is one of those saws that's easier to put the bolts on first. Okay. Now there's no rings on here, so we don't have to worry about none of that kind of good stuff. Okay. Now I'll just bolt it down. Okay, I put 2 bolts on there. That's all you really need. If you want to do all 4, that's fine too. We're getting rough numbers here, and it'll be good. There you go. Just drop it on there. There's no rings on here, so okay. Tighten both bolts down. This is what I do on every saw. I time it, check it. I'm never in a race when I'm building a saw. I do this for fun, and I enjoy it. And I like to make every saw as good as I can. Okay, let's make a pointer. Okay. Hopefully you guys can see here. I always just pick a spot that's, you know, cheap and cheerful. So I'm going to put this bolt down through there. This is just a piece of welding rod. Okay. You can use a coat hanger, whatever you got. I've even used copper wire, like for wiring houses. That's not as desirable because it's super bendy. You want something that's fairly stiff. But again, I've timed saws with, back in the day, with copper wire. You just got to make sure you don't bump it. Okay. Let's put the light on for you guys here. There you go. Okay, just get this. Now I'm going to bend it right here at a 90. Okay, we know we're close to top dead center, so because remember I put it at bottom dead center and kind of lined it up by eye. We'll be a few degrees off, but this will get us in the ballpark. Okay. Okay, here's our pointer. I'm just going to go up, bend it down right here. Take my linesman pliers and I'll just cut it at a bit of an angle. There you go. There's a timing pointer. Okay, you can make one out of whatever. You don't need fancy stuff to port 2 strokes, friends. You really don't. You do if you want to do machine work and stuff like that. But to build a good work saw, you don't need welding wire. Beauty. That's all you need, friends. Okay. I bought a timing stop, okay, or a piston stop. Guys have been asking me for years, can I show them with a piston stop? Here's a piston stop. You can buy these online. This is just a generic piston stop. Okay, I'm going to screw this all the way in. Okay. Now I'll turn this around. Where does it stop? What's that saying to me, friends? That is saying 6 degrees after top dead center, right? Let's go this way. Okay, we're at 83, 82 degrees. So we are way, way off. Easiest way to do it is count. So 82 plus 6 is 88. So we're 42 degrees off. Does that make sense? So if this thing's at 82 degrees right now, right? And we're 42 degrees off, I need to put it at 40. So this needs to go to there. And all I'm going to do, undo the center, loosen it a bit. A little bit more. Okay, put that at 40. Okay, we're close. We're at 41 right now. Now I'm going to leave it there. Okay, so we're still a little bit off. We are at 45, 46 roughly, okay? And the other way was what, 41? So I'm going to move this about 3 degrees. Okay. Now we're at 44. There's always going to be a perspective difference from what you guys see to what I see. That's just, that's the name of the game with cameras. Okay, 44. Again, I'll get you guys in real close so you guys can see. There you go, 44. 44. Okay, so all I'm going to do right now is hold my drill chuck in place so it doesn't rotate. Tighten that down. Make sure it's still at 44. It moved a little bit. Okay. Bend my timing key or my timing marker at 44. Okay. 44. 44. 44. 44. We are zeroed. Okay. Take the stop out. All that does is stops your piston in the same direction or in the same space in both directions of travel, and then you zero your wheel to account for that. Okay, so we have a timed or a zeroed piston and cylinder. Let's do the exhaust port first. Okay, I'm going to turn this over until I see the first ray of light. Where are we at here? So let me get my light turned up here. I don't have it up high enough. There we go. Okay, I'm going to stick my light back through the spark plug hole. There you guys go. You guys see the exhaust port opening there? Okay, so again, let's turn it over. Top dead center's there. Starts coming down, down, down. Now, I use first ray of light. Some guys use when they see the port open. Time your saws however you like. I really don't think it makes a difference. Everybody does things different. You guys can see right in here, that first ray of light. That's how I do it. Okay, there's my first ray of light. You can also see in this shot that the piston is opening. See it? Okay, right there. How does this thing time? Well, I'm actually pretty shocked. Interesting. It is showing us 100 after top dead center, right? Top dead center's here. It is spinning in that direction. 100 after top dead center. That's pretty good. I'm going to spin it around again. You guys look at the wheel. First ray of light is right there. So yeah, 100 after top dead center. Now that is a stock cylinder, friends. Let's have a look at the intake. Okay, friends, here's the intake side. What you're looking for is, let's see if I can get that in there. On the bottom, right there, see that little space? You're looking for the intake to open. See that? Open, closed, open, closed. Okay, now what I'm going to do, where does it open? Right about there. 70 degrees after bottom dead center is where it opens. Okay, right there, friends. 70 degrees after bottom dead center. So we got 100 on the exhaust, 70 on the intake. Where does the intake close? Okay, so it opens there at 70. Where does it close? Right about there. And again, 70. So we have 140 degrees of duration on this intake. The exhaust opens at 100. Now, let's have a look-see at the transfer. Here's a shot from inside the cylinder. There's the exhaust port on the left. There's the transfer. So when you're timing your transfers, that's what you're looking for. Where does the transfer open? And here's the other side. Just making sure they both open at the same time. In this case, they do. Once in a while, you'll get a cylinder that doesn't open at the same time, and that's when you'll have to do some upper transfer work to fix the imperfection. And here's where our transfers open, 122 after top dead center. So our exhaust opens at 100, our transfers open at 122. Interesting. Let's do the Hyway cylinder now. Okay, friends, and we got a Hyway cylinder on there. Let's do the exhaust port. Okay, here's the Hyway. Okay, we're at top dead center. Where does it open? Interesting. I'm going to bring you guys up a little bit higher. There you go. I want you guys to see that first ray of light. Okay. Top dead center. Piston starting to move down, down, down. Let's watch for that first ray of light. There it is. Now you'll notice this exhaust port is a slightly different shape than the factory one. You can tell because the ray of light hits farther back. The factory one, it hits somewhere about here. Okay. So I'm just going to look for that first ray of light. And it's right about there. There we have it, friends. About 100, okay? I know you guys, once again, you're getting a difference in perspective. 100 after top dead center. Bang on with the stock one. Let's have a look at the intake and the transfers. Okay, same thing. There's the bottom right there. Maybe I'll turn the light down a little bit on this one. Since this is a new cylinder, it's way shinier and we're getting a lot more light reverberation or feedback. Okay, where does this one open? I'm just going to look through the camera. Oh, that intake's a nice shape. Okay, so right about there it opens. 72. Okay, 72 is what I'm seeing on the wheel. 71 and a half, 72. We're going to call it 72. Okay, friends? So 72. 72 is where it opens. Now, where does it close? Where your intake opens and where it closes sometimes can be different. So it can be important to do your duration. It closes right about there. 71. So 71 and 72 is 143 duration. And here's a look inside the Hyway cylinder. Notice this exhaust port is nice and flat. It opens pretty much straight across. Here's the right transfer. Again, opens nice and symmetrically. And all I'm doing here again is checking to make sure the left one opens at the same point on the timing wheel. And they both open the same. Okay, friends, and there's where the Hyway transfers open. 119 after top dead center. Interesting. After top dead center. Okay, let's talk about this. That was fun. Okay, friends, now I did not compare squish on these two. We can do that another day. I'd like to take the base gasket off before I do that. It's a little bit frayed in spots, so I didn't think I was going to get a good squish measurement with what we have. But this is good enough for all intensive purposes. Okay, stock is up here, Hyway. Okay, friends, so stock exhaust opens 100 after top dead center. Transfers open at 122, so that's 22 degrees of blowdown. Intake 70 after bottom dead center. Now, I think it's funny, friends. These 038 Magnums, I remember when I had mine, these things eat more fuel than any saw I've ever owned. Like, I felt like, I don't know if the gas tank's small on this or it's just that hard on fuel, but that's pretty lazy intake timing, 140 degrees. So, kind of interesting. Good blowdown. I like long blowdown, especially on short stroke saws. That's where it helps if you have a lathe. So I'm actually pretty impressed by that blowdown. Most of the 272s that I've timed have like 18 to 20 degrees. So that couple extra degrees of transfer blowdown is a good deal. 100 after top dead center. Interesting, because in my mind, this is a slower cutting saw than a 272, but most 272s I time are like 102, 104. So the exhaust opens later. I find these make better compression stock than a 272, but again, a 272 has a single ring piston. So less parasitic drag, the piston's lighter. So it's just interesting. I like these timing numbers. I think I'm probably going to use this cylinder. Because where I'm going, and I'll write down where I'm going for you guys if you're interested. Okay, let's talk about the Hyway. Hyway exhaust 100 after top dead center. So same exhaust timing. Transfers are 119, so that's 19 degrees of blowdown, BD. Not terrible. I would like to see a little more blowdown out of this saw. This might be a good candidate. This cylinder, I would probably cut the base. But friends, if we did a base gasket delete with a short stroke saw, this gasket in the saw is like 20,000. So we'd probably get a degree or two of timing, right? So if we took the base gasket out, and again, let's finish this because you guys know how my brain is like. I get going. It opened at 72 and closed at 71, so it's 140 degrees of intake timing. So the Hyway will get more fuel going through it and air, good for power, but the transfer's open sooner. So that might cancel out the longer intake duration. If I drop this cylinder 2 degrees, we'll say 2 degrees is 20 thou on this saw, okay? We don't know what it is, we could measure it, but say 2 degrees is 20 thou. If I drop the cylinder down by taking the base gasket out, our new timing numbers would be exhaust 102, transfers, I'll just put TR, transfers 121, intake, if we add 2 degrees to that, it would open at 74. We'll say it closes 74. 74 plus 74 is 148. Okay, so we get better intake timing. Then what I would do, I'd probably minus that, go 98 if I wanted this thing to be zippy and if I felt it made enough compression. Okay, 98. If I add 4 degrees to this at 121 would now give us 25 degrees of blowdown. And I'd probably go 76 on here. So 76 plus 76 would be 152 duration. Okay, so interesting. These time very similar. I'm sure they would run pretty much the same. The Hyway versus the Stalker. Well, that was kind of fun, wasn't it? Pretty neat that the Hyway literally times almost identical to the stock cylinder. Little bit less blowdown. Some people like that though. So if you like a shorter blowdown, get the Hyway. They time so similar, I think I'm going to go with the OEM on this build. That cylinder's in great shape. I thought it was worse off than it was, so I ordered a top end. No harm, no foul. We'll use this on another project. I'm just excited. It's going to be fun. I like working on and building saws for people I know. And this one's for Fab Willie and his brother. I've known those guys for like, oh geez, almost 25 years now. We all been friends, so... it'll be cool for them to have a Tin Man Eye saw and they can stack firewood in their trucks and enjoy it. We'll have to go cutting with them boys one day. I was going to pull a firewood permit this fall. Never even got a chance to do it. And by the time I was ready to start cutting, there was already too much snow. So we'll get out there one of these days and cut some wood on the east side of the province. You guys can see what it looks like there. Anyhow, friends, so if you need a replacement cylinder and piston, grab a Hyway. Go check out Wolf Creek Saw Shop. That's where this top end came from. It's a nice top end, and if that cylinder was no good, the OEM one, I would have no problems using this. It looks good, it times nicely, and I could easily turn up the numbers on it and have a really good running saw. So anyhow, friends, I love me an 03 Magnum. I can't wait to get this thing running. As always, thanks for watching. Take her easy. Later.